Here we go, time for another wee story. This one, Christmas assault, guilty or not. So let's see, let's get right in about it. Here we go. It's 2 o'clock on a dark and cold Christmas morning. The air is fresh and the streets are deserted. James and Stuart, wrapped up in their warmest clothes, are on their way to help a friend. The mission, to build 2 bikes and a complicated storage box. A good deed to be carried out in the spirit of Christmas. For James, this is a relatively new freedom, as his curfew hours have only recently been loosened, allowing his parents to begin trusting his ability to behave and act maturely. On the other hand, Stuart is 19 and has led quite a colourful life, hanging around with the wrong crowd, being arrested on many occasions. Stuart quickly recognised the error of his ways and turned his life around, finding full-time employment and avoiding any more run-ins with the law by moving away from his old haunts and habits. The 2 boys laugh and joke as they arrive and are warmly welcomed by Susan. Susan, the single parent of 2 young children who are already tucked up in bed and looking forward to Santa's arrival, is delighted when the boys show up as planned. After explaining what was required and where each item was to be placed, she heads to bed for a couple of hours before the children get up. Having absolute trust in the boys, she asks them to put the keys through the front letterbox when they finish. The boys get to work. Meanwhile, a few streets away, a young couple are making their way home after having a few drinks at a family get-together. Minding their own business and filled with Christmas cheer, they giggle, kiss and stroll toward home when, out of nowhere, 2 menacing-looking Neds appear from the dark and confront them. "Give us your money and jewellery and we won't hurt you," mouths one of the robbing bastards as he pulls out a knife. The couple, terrified out of their wits, momentarily lose their voices. They freeze, confused, trying to understand what is happening. "Give us your money and jewellery and we won't hurt you. Don't make me use this fucking knife." The guy getting robbed finds his balance and, gaining a little composure, steps forward to protect his partner and replies, "It's Christmas morning, for fuck's sake. We're not looking for any trouble. Please put the knife away. We will give you everything we have, no problem. Please put the knife away." At this moment, the knife-wielding dirty bastard smashes him with a blow to the head and drops the man to the ground, rendering him unconscious. He then proceeds to kick him a few times before rummaging around his pockets and taking anything of value. The woman screams in horror at witnessing her man savagely beaten, but the scream is cut short as the other robbing bastard slaps her, grabbing her hair and forcibly removing her watch and shoulder bag. The woman is then violently pushed through a hedge as the 2 thieving bastards run off. Shaken and traumatised, she gets to her feet and makes her way out of the garden to check on how badly her partner is injured. Fortunately, he is slowly regaining consciousness, and his mobile phone was not taken during the robbery. She reaches inside his jacket, grabs the phone, composes herself, and calls the police. The police arrive within minutes and, upon arrival, take statements and assess the health of both injured parties. The wounded man flatly refuses an ambulance to be brought to the scene, so, after agreeing to his wishes, the police decide that the 2 assailants might not be that far away. They suggest that the victims get in the police car and go on a scouting mission to perhaps spot their attackers. Back at the house, Stuart tightens the final nut on the rear wheel of the Wayne's bike, then steps back to admire his handiwork, deciding an excellent job deserves a cigarette break. Having already built the storage box and set it in its spot, he and James had then taken a bike each to build. He looks over to see that James has almost completed his task and signals to him that it's time for a cigarette. As Susan's home does not allow smoking, Stuart goes outside and sits on the front steps to enjoy his well-earned rest. A police car passes and barely registers on Stuart's radar, as having moved away from that lifestyle, he does not need to concern himself with old ways. As the police drive past, the lead officer recognises Stuart and instantly becomes suspicious, convinced he has found one of the attackers. Although the 2 victims are unsure, with the right prompting, the officer assures them that this is one of the culprits. He radios for backup and awaits the other officers to take their positions. Stuart finishes his cigarette and stubs it out on the stairs, remaining seated and enjoying the dark and peacefulness, appreciating how his life is progressing, feeling pleasant, relaxed and well chuffed with the good deed accomplished. A noise from the side of the house catches his attention. He looks up and sees 8 officers charging towards him, and before he knows what is happening, he is forced face down on the ground and handcuffed. James, hearing something happening outside, goes to investigate, only to also be forced face down on the ground and handcuffed. One of the officers closes the front door of the house as Stuart and James are led to an arriving police van. The police purposely walk them slowly past the squad car containing the assault victims, allowing the imprint of Stuart and James's faces to be absorbed by the passengers in the vehicle. Both boys, completely bewildered by what is happening, protest their innocence as they try to figure out what's going on. However, the police are not willing to listen. When another officer also recognises Stuart, the police are confident they have caught the culprits. On the way to the station, James pleads for his family to be contacted and shouts for his older brother to be phoned so he can come and sort this mess out. The officers only laugh in response. One sneers and says, "It will take more than your big brother to get you out of this one, you scumbag. You will be seeing nobody as the courts are shut for the Christmas holidays." The boys are taken to Maryhill Police Station and placed in their new living quarters. They settle into their cells and realise there will be no Christmas dinner with family that night. The days pass slowly and the wait for the court appearance seems interminable. Christmas Day and night, Boxing Day and night, and then the weekend comes with no sign of the court opening. Their only contact with the outside world is through their lawyer, and messages scribbled inside the newspapers that their families could hand in. Their families were at their wits' end, wondering what was happening. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the boys were told they would be given clothes to wear that their families had handed into the station, and then would be transported to the courts. As James changed and prepared himself, he discovered that his family had given him his best suit, but with 2 left shoes. It was not a good start, as they were handcuffed and led to the awaiting van. The journey to court is an unpleasant experience, and the boys are filled with apprehension about how the day could unfold and what mood the judge might be in. On top of this, they are wondering about the calibre of the other prisoners, who have yet to be rounded up from the neighbouring holding cells, as other police stations are en route and prisoners are to be collected. Who will I be chained up with, wonder James and Stuart, as you all get handcuffed together, forming a chain of men heading to their doom and gloom. Unfortunately, and as uncomfortable as James's feet are with the 2 left shoes, he is chained next to a BAM, who is charged with attempted murder. Oh, the joys for James and Stuart, who have done nothing wrong, or have they? Susan, the single parent, who the boys were helping at the time of the crime, puts forward a statement via the lawyers, but this gets dismissed as she had gone to bed and had no visual connection with the boys during the incident. Additionally, both witnesses picked them out with police prompting on the night in question. Susan's statement is dismissed as worthless to the case, and the boys must hope the gods find favour. The chain gang arrives at the courthouse awaiting their fate and is escorted downstairs to the holding cells. At this point, James meets Sammy, someone who understands the system and is well known in prison. Luckily for James, this chance encounter will help him through this horrible experience, as Sammy is of a decent sort, a rapscallion nonetheless, but a decent man who recognises the fear in young James and takes him under his protection, offering reassurance that things will be okay. At this point, James's confusion deepens. Lacking any prior experience to anticipate the process, he hears his and Stuart's names called out. They are escorted from the cell to a private hearing with the judge and prosecutor. The setting is an imposing office characterised by dark wood panelling. During this hearing, James and Stuart discover they are considered a danger to the public and will be remanded in custody awaiting trial. Now even more perplexed, James cannot comprehend why he remains in custody and is bewildered as they return to the holding cell. What the fuck is going on here? James asks Stuart. Listen, James, I'm sorry. I think this is my fault because of previous involvement with violence. We're getting detained in prison till trial. I'm sorry, pal. The fuck do you mean? Prison? I've done fuck all wrong. What's our lawyer fucking doing? This can't be happening, screams James, as it all slowly starts to sink in. He begins thinking about all the horror stories he's heard about prison and what happens to young boys when they first arrive. What the fuck's going to happen to me? Am I going to get fucking ass raped when we get up here? Nobody's going to ass rape me. This can't be fucking happening. At this point, Sammy intervenes, leaning over and saying, listen son, you're going to be alright. It's no like that. And anyway, you're with me. You will be alright. At this moment, James doesn't feel things will be alright. And it takes some time for him to calm down and await the next part of this nightmare to unfold. They are all bundled into a van, and after a short journey, arrive at Greenock Prison. The van enters the prison gate and parks up. Then the prisoners disembark and stand in line, all handcuffed together, looking dazed and confused. They are led to the administration section to be processed and begin their time. James, feeling bewildered and frightened, is eventually uncuffed and put into what is known as a dug box, where he is told to strip. The dug box is a small cell for one, which they use to detain prisoners during this initial process. His clothes are taken away and he's left to freeze for about 8 hours in the box as part of the prison officer's ritual of letting you know who's in charge. Eventually, an officer escorts James to the shower area where he is hosed down and covered in delousing powder, then given his clothes back as he's on remand and not required to wear prison-issue clothing. Returning to the box, now fully dressed, he's told the psychiatrist will be along to conduct a psychological assessment. James gives up wondering how much time has passed as he awaits his assessment. Eventually, are you insane? Asks the psychiatrist. No, replies James. Are you on any medication? No. Are you an addict? No. Okay, this one is declared of sound mind and ready for general population. Take him through, shouts the psychiatrist to the waiting guard. James is led through to collect his bedding before heading to general population, where there will be a welcoming party as the inmates gather to verbally abuse the newcomers. The gate opens and through they go. James hears the shouting but tries to ignore it and look ahead, focusing on where the guard is leading him. Hey, you sexy young thing, you're mine tonight. Oh, baby, I'm going to do you tonight, sweetheart, are a couple of the comments that he hears. But remembering what Sammy told him, he knows it's all bullshit to make the newcomers feel uncomfortable and scared. This is your cell, son. If you're unsure of anything, ask, instructs the prison officer before turning away and leaving James to acquaint himself with his new cellmate. Alright, pal, I'm BR. What you in for? I stabbed a taxi driver in the neck, by the way, mouths BR as a welcome greeting. Fuck. BR is a nasty looking bastard with a few teeth missing, matted, manky, curly hair and dark, beady eyes, which make James a little intimidated and feel he's got to act up a bit and play the part. So rather than say he's wrongly accused, James shares with BR that his charge is serious assault and robbery. Upon hearing this, BR seems to settle a bit and adds, aye, we'll go on just fine, by the way. As James sits on his bunk, he wonders what the fuck has happened over the past few days for him to end up in this predicament. Then, after an hour or so of contemplation, he goes to find his pal Stuart and the only other person who could offer him some hope of surviving, Sammy, whom we remember had given him words of support and encouragement, telling him not to worry as he had his back. He finds Stuart on the opposite landing and is relieved to spend some time with his friend. Thank fuck I'm not alone in here, ponders James, as he and Stuart have a quick catch-up and decide to look for Sammy. Fortunately, Sammy is only a couple of cells down from James, and the boys find him quickly and enter his cell for a catch-up, hoping that Sammy has some jail knowledge to share and make their lives a little easier during this nightmare. As the boys sit and listen to Sammy and his wise ways of surviving here and keeping their heads, they are joined by a few of Sammy's acquaintances who are introduced to James and Stuart, who are told that these boys will help make their stay more bearable, as they are all part of Sammy's crew. Here's a description of the crew. First we have Flymo, a wee ginger guy with features like a leprechaun. Although only about 4 feet 11 inches, he stands with his arms out and chest puffed, as if ready for battle. A horrible little cunt who is an accomplice of BR, whom we met earlier, is useful when robbing houses as he slides in through small spaces. Then, Scooter. His dad is a lifer who is well connected, so Scooter ran this section of the prison, having just arrived back from getting caught stealing expensive cars to order. Tall, lean, pale, a menacing aura about him. Hard to explain. Next, Dwayne. A bully boy who was now concerned that Scooter had returned. Dwayne was in for... no one knows. He's a shifty character. Dark hair, short on the sides, always wearing a tight t-shirt, a big flat face like a bin lid, and a chin like Desperate Dan. Stocky build. And finally, Bungalow Bill, sex offender. His most recent adventure was the consumption of a large quantity of magic mushrooms and hallucinating to the point of forgetting what sex he was, then proceeding to pull his pants down to check. Upon observing that he had a penis, he decided to march through a busy shopping centre with his pants remaining down as he shuffled past all the startled shoppers like some perverted penguin with giant, shiny eyeballs. What a crew indeed. After some get-to-know-each-other patter, all the misfits return to their cells and bed down for the night. Prison life is slow. As the saying, slow as a week in the jail, comes from. And the boys settle in until they are taken back to Maryhill Police Station for their ID parades. Stuart goes through the process of being picked out by the women who suffered the assault and robbery. But even with police prompting, the man who suffered the assault failed to pick Stuart. When it came to the turn of James, his lawyer, Mr. McCarry, was unhappy with the discrepancies in height between James and the other ID participants, with James at least a foot taller than every other participant in the ID parade. So McCarry requested that all participants be seated. The parade goes ahead with the woman failing to pick out James as one of her attackers. At this point, both boys are still bewildered as to why they are kept in custody and taken once again back to Greenock Prison to await trial. Anyway, the trial day arrives. As the trial progresses and the prosecution presents its evidence, the woman who was assaulted and robbed gives a detailed account of what happened. She mentions that the shorter of the two attackers, the one with the blonde hair, was incredibly aggressive and describes him as a horrible little man whose face she would never forget. During cross-examination, Mr. McCarry asks her to confirm this, questioning whether she's entirely sure of the details. She insists that she is certain. McCarry then asks if the horrible little man is in the courtroom and whether she can identify him, which she does. He reminds the court that she was unable to do so during the ID parade and asks her what's changed. But before she can respond, McCarry asks James to stand, and the courtroom watches as a tall figure slowly rises, towering at 6 feet 5 inches. McCarry shakes his head and says, "I have never seen such a tall, horrible little man. Given this mix-up and the fact that each of my clients was identified only once at the ID parade, I request that this case be dismissed." The judge dismisses the case and the boys are free to go. Their nightmare is over. Not guilty. Of course they're not. But how that case made it to court will always remain a mystery. That's a true story from back in the day. Yeah. Anyway, if you made it to the end with me, I salute you. Cheers.